If you're struggling with reel creation and you have literally no idea how to start making and editing videos about your work process, then this video is for you. Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, I'm Aurélie, a lettering artist from the Gold Coast in Australia. I'm passionate about helping other creatives improve their skills and sell their own digital products online. I have many online lettering courses and design resources, so if you want to check them out, make sure to check out my website. In this video, I'm going to be showing you how I create all of my reels using Premiere Pro. But first, I'll be showing you how to film your videos, making sure you're capturing quality content. Then I'll be showing you how to use Premiere Pro. I'll show you exactly how to edit and export your videos. And finally, I'll share with you some of my tips for writing great captions. So let's get into it. First, you need to choose what content you're going to film. So if you decide to film your drawing process on paper, for example, you need to make sure you set aside time for filming. This is something that needs to be planned ahead of time. Otherwise, you might miss the best part. If you want to film digital art, like a Procreate artwork, for example, or if you want to film yourself designing a packaging in Illustrator, then you can react the process and pretend to do it again. This is what most designers and artists do these days. I know it removes a bit of the magic, but this is a real time saver because you only film what you want to show and simply redo it in front of the camera. It also eliminates any errors or things that you didn't end up using, so you don't need to show any of that. You can just skip straight to the best part. Just remember to keep all of your layers in your document and all the versions of your work as well, so you can easily go back through all of your steps. Then you can act out those steps in front of the camera. Now you have two options here. You can either film with a camera or with your phone. Personally, whenever I film a reel, I always use my iPhone, and I would recommend using the highest settings that your phone or camera can do. So here are the camera settings I recommend if you are using an iPhone. So you need to go into your settings, camera, video record, and then make sure you're filming in at least 4K, and mine is set to 4K at 60 frames per second. If you don't have the greatest or the latest camera, don't worry, just start off with whatever you have and go from there. And if you're curious to know what equipment I use for filming all of my videos, then check out my Amazon storefront in the description. When it comes to filming, here's what I recommend you do and don't do. So let's start with what you shouldn't do. First, you shouldn't be using any clips that move too fast or very fast time lapses. I always avoid speeding up my videos too much or doing very fast time lapses, as this is quite difficult to watch and it's not always pleasing to watch. Then I would recommend avoiding dark videos. If you're filming your iPad, for example, you might want to turn down the brightness of your screen so you can see the background better. So you really want to make sure that everything is properly lit. Next thing you want to avoid is reflection on your screen. So if you're filming your screen on your computer or your iPad, then try to use natural lighting, or you can use a screen protector to get rid of any reflections on your iPad screen, for example. I use Paperlike, so feel free to check it out in the description. Next thing I would recommend avoiding is a messy background. Having a cleaned and organized background with maybe some small on-theme decorations will make your video look more professional. Then I would recommend avoiding any unfocused or moving image. If your tripod is moving, if it's not focused correctly, or if your lens is dirty, your video will be very difficult to watch and people will just scroll past. Now, regarding the things that you should do, I would recommend that you only film vertically. So if you're going to post your reel on social media, then make sure you film in portrait. Then only capture eye-catching visuals. So think of your video as a beautiful moving photograph of your work. So just like if you were trying to take a photo of your work, you will make sure that it has nice lighting, nice background. So do the same for your video. I always try to use good lighting and small on-theme decorations. then only use short video clips. My videos are always just a sequence of multiple short clips combined together into one video. So those clips are usually never more than 1 to 2 seconds. That's because when you combine multiple short clips together, you keep the pace up of your video, making it more dynamic and engaging. And then lastly, only use the satisfying footage. When I film my process, a lot just goes in the bin. I don't keep everything. I only select the most pleasing to watch clips. So just make sure you select the best part of your footage so that you can't get your eyes off the video. So once you film all of your video clips, you're going to export them onto your desktop, and now we can move on to Premiere Pro. So let's get straight into it. First thing I will recommend that you guys do is create a new folder where you're going to place all of your files related to this project. So let's go ahead and do that. And I'm just going to call this Heinz Reel. Within this folder, it's up to you however you want to organize your files, but I like to create a subfolder with all of the videos, so all of the footage that I have taken. So I'm just going to create a new folder and call it videos, and I'm just going to drag everything into that folder. Great, now I'm going to open up Premiere Pro and I'm going to create a new project. So the first thing you need to decide is where you're going to place that project, and I would recommend obviously placing it within the new folder that you've just created. So you just click on project location, choose location, and here you can place it within your new folder and click choose. Then you're going to give a name to your project. You can call it the same thing if you want. And then you can go ahead and click create. So this is what the Premiere Pro interface looks like. If you're not familiar with it, don't be intimidated. It's quite easy. At the bottom here is your timeline. So that's where you're going to edit all of your clips and crop them. So all of your video clip will appear here. Here in program, you will have your preview, and this is where we're going to import our media to start. We're just going to double click within this section, and here you can locate your files. You're just going to import every single videos. Now you should have a list on the left with all of your video clips. So they are in chronological order, hopefully. So the first video that I took is at the top. Then what you can do is just click and drag your file within this section. You can do that individually, so you can go one by one, or you can select them all at once and drag them in the timeline section. Just for the purpose of this video, I'm just gonna go one at a time so it doesn't get too confusing. So I'm just gonna click on the first clip and drag it into this section. So I'm just clicking, holding, dragging it there, and then releasing, and that should appear there. With this little blue cursor here, that's showing you where the video is showing. So if you move it, you can see that it's showing the video at the top. If you move it all the way to the left, that's the start of the video, and you can position your cursor wherever you want to see the video. So this is where the preview is happening, just to give you a bit of a better understanding of the interface. Here are all of the effects, so that's where you can change the colors, you can do some transition and things like that. So all of your effects will be in here, and here is where you can control everything like the size of your video, the opacity, you can play with the volume levels and things like that. So we won't be going into too much detail in this video. It's just a very basic Premiere Pro overview of how to edit a reel as simply as possible. So this is the first clip that we have taken. So you can click and drag anywhere and select it. And as you can see, if you do that, it's selecting these two lines. You have a light blue and a darker blue line, and the top one is actually the video, whereas the second one is your sound. So if you click on this and drag it down, you can see that this is actually the audio of your clip. In this case, I am not talking in the video. I don't need the audio. So what I'm going to do to start with is just delete that audio. If you right click, you can go ahead and click unlink, and it's just gonna separate the video from its audio. And you can see now you can select them individually. So I'm just gonna select the sound and hit delete on my keyboard and get rid of the sound. So just like you could zoom in on this side, you can also do the same thing at the bottom using this slider. So if you make it smaller, it's just going to zoom in. If you make it bigger, it's just going to reduce the size of your timeline and you'll be able to see everything. So just something that's quite useful. Now, if you bring your cursor all the way to the left and press the space bar on your keyboard, it's just going to play the video. So that's another thing that's useful to know about. All right, so let's crop our first clip. As I was saying earlier, the shorter the video, the better. I like to keep my clips about 1 second or 2 seconds each. I really focus on grabbing the most satisfying section, the one that's pleasing to watch. In this example here, I think it will be just nicer to see me draw maybe these two first guides. So maybe this one at the top here. So this is just the section that I want to include. So what I'm going to do is position my cursor wherever I want this clip to start. So somewhere around here. And then I'm going to grab the little razor tool. You can just cut your video in half. And then I'm just going to decide wherever I want this clip to stop. So I'm going to zoom in so you guys can see a bit better. So I want to kind of stop here. So I'm again going to cut the video. So this is the clip I'm going to end up using. So I don't need anything before that or after that. So going back to my selection tool, I'm just going to select the clip I want to erase. So just hitting delete on my keyboard and saying that one over there. So I'm left with something that's about 1 second long. And if you play it, you can see me quickly draw that line. Now you can see that this is positioned somewhere in the middle of our timeline, which is not what we want. We want this to be at the very beginning. So there's two ways of doing it. You could either select it, move it all the way to the left, or there's another thing you can do within Premiere Pro, and it's actually grab an empty space. You can grab this empty selection and actually delete it. So same thing as before, we just hit delete on the keyboard. That's gonna bring everything to the left. So let's just do another one just quickly so you guys can see. I'm gonna go ahead and grab this second video clip I have made. I'm gonna position it somewhere around here. Selecting it again, I'm just gonna get rid of the sound. So right click, unlink, select the audio, hitting delete. Here I'm just gonna try and find a clip that's most satisfying. Maybe this one over there where I'm drawing that little flourish, or maybe the one where I'm coloring it. I think that's nicer. So again, I'm going to grab my razor tool where I want this clip to start. Something like that. And then I'm going to end it here, grabbing my selection tool. Just gonna delete the beginning and the end of the video and then the empty space, and that should bring everything to the left. Now you can see this clip is a little bit longer. Here I would possibly keep the start, then cut it again, and then keep the very end. Just so that it's not too long and it's just showing the most satisfying part. Let's play that and see what it does. Cool. So you can see that I have 3 clips. They're very short and it's just very satisfying. It's pleasing to watch, it's entertaining, you want to know what's going to happen next, so that's good. This is basically how I do all of my videos. I just add more and more clips until I'm happy with what they look like. Now I want to show you one more thing, guys. So these are all of my video clips together. So this is the final sequence of all of my clips. This is what I ended up with. As you can see, they're all very short, they're all about the same length. Now, if I wanted to make that a little bit faster, what I would do is group everything together and kind of speed it up a tiny little bit, just so that it's not so long, because at the moment this video is about 30 seconds, which is perfect. But if you wanted to, let's say, make it 25 seconds so that it's a little bit shorter, what you can do is select every clip at once. So you just click on the gray area and select everything, and here you can right click and click nest. So it's just going to group everything together and create a sequence. So I would recommend naming that sequence. I I'm just gonna call it all because it has everything in it. So let's press enter, and you can see now you have one sequence. And what you can do here is right click again and select speed duration. So here you can change the speed, you can double it, so you can change it to 200. And you can see it's going to be 15 seconds instead of 30 seconds, which is going to be extremely fast. I wouldn't recommend doing that. I like to keep it usually maybe 120, and you can see that's creating a video that's 25 seconds. So it's just going to remove 5 seconds in total, and it's just going to make it a little bit faster without being too fast. So let's have a look. If you go and press play, you can barely see the difference, but it's just going to be a little bit faster, which sometimes helps with retention. So people keep watching just because everything is happening really fast and they don't get bored. All right, so that's the final video. So guys, the next thing I recommend that you do here is save your work. And then the next thing we need to do is to export our file. So if you go at the top left corner here and click export, that's where you can change all of the settings in order to export your video. So the first thing I would recommend is renaming your file again, and make sure you change the location. Again, I would recommend saving it within that same folder so everything is in one place, and then you're going to give it a name. I'm just gonna name it the same thing, to be honest. I think that's just easier, and then click save. Now here there's a couple of things that you can do to export that video, but if you filmed it with your iPhone in 4K with the best settings, you can just go ahead and click export. You absolutely don't need to change anything because the default settings are totally fine. If you were to export a video for YouTube, which if it was a landscape format, you would click on here and it would prompt you to create a video that's maybe 4K or HD, whatever you want. But just for the purpose of a reel, because it's just going to be posted on social media, if you just keep the default settings, it's going to be just fine. So you can see here, that's the size of the video, that's the length, which is 25 seconds, and there is no audio. I will be adding the audio within the app, whether it's Instagram or TikTok. I will be adding the audio later on, so I'm just going to click export. All right, so once your video has exported, it should appear within your folder next to your Premiere Pro file. It should be an MP4 file. That's just what I then airdrop to my phone and post on social media. Now, this is by no means a rule, but I like to keep all of my videos at least 30 seconds long, and I'll divide that into a 2-second intro, and that's going to be your hook. I know this is difficult because that's when people will decide whether or not they want to keep watching. So make sure to keep that in mind and try to start off your video with something either pleasing to watch or very intriguing. Then I use 25 seconds of processed shots, and at the end I like to finish with a 3-second ending showcasing the final artwork. I always like to show the final artwork because I feel like there is nothing more frustrating than watching a process video and not seeing the final result. You want to reward your viewers for watching until the end. And when editing also, I recommend adding a copyright-free sound to save you time. So platforms like Instagram should allow you to use any song, but YouTube, for example, is very strict with copyrighted music, and so is TikTok. So I use Epidemic Sound for this. It's great because it lets you search music by keywords and it gives you a quick overview of the style and the speed of the song. For example, something quirky or suspenseful or groovy, etc. Another great way to make your reels even more engaging is to add a voiceover. And for that, I simply used the app on my iPhone called Voice Memo, and you can very easily just airdrop that audio that you just recorded to your desktop and drag it into your timeline in Premiere Pro. And just like you cropped your video footage, you can crop your audio. Okay, now it is time to share your reel. But before you go ahead and post your reel on Instagram, I wanted to share with you a couple of settings I recommend you update within the app. So here are the settings I recommend you activate in Instagram before posting your reels. So first you're going to go into your account settings, then go into your account, and now go into data usage and turn on high quality uploads. This setting is automatically turned off for some reason and you have to manually change it yourself. So make sure to check that it's turned on. I only just recently discovered it, but this will definitely make a difference when you post on this app. Now there is one last thing you need to do before you post your reel on social media, and that is to write a caption. I know that copywriting is an art, but here are some easy to follow tips that will help you write your captions. First, you're going to start with a good hook. So the first few words of your caption are the first part that people will see. So you need to make sure you hook them from the start, otherwise you'll miss out on engagement. Then keep it short and sweet. So you're going to capture your audience attention with your great video, but the caption is where you give people a bit more context and also convey the story and details you want to share. My next tip is to include a call to action. So make sure you always ask your audience to either comment or check out a product on the marketplace or head over to your link in bio maybe. Next tip is to use the right hashtag, and we all know that using multiple hashtags will help those who may be interested in your video be able to find you more easily. Essentially, it's just telling the robots what your video is about. Then I recommend that you use emojis. These will make it super easy to scan your text, and it's a great way to emphasize or illustrate a point without using more copy. And my final tip is to just be yourself. A relatable caption is a sure way to boost your engagement because they help you show the human side of your work and spark a conversation with your audience. And guys, if you expect that your reel must be perfect before you can actually post it, you will end up getting into a cycle of perfectionism. It's not a good thing. In fact, it's a hindering thing because it sets up unrealistic expectations about what we're capable of. I know that it's easier said than done, but don't worry about doing it well. Just do it. All that matters is that you create a reel about something that you love and want to share. From there, you can learn from your mistakes and over time get more comfortable with your ability to make reels. So instead of having something done perfectly, focus on just getting it done. You can edit, you can build, you can grow, you can develop your skills to exactly what your vision is after getting started. But if you don't get started, you'll never arrive. I remember my very first reel and it wasn't great at all. But the important thing is to keep at it, to push through the end, and I promise it will be worth the effort. And I just wanted to share a couple of final thoughts with you guys. I think that at the end of the day, it is more important to focus on building your character, building your style, rather than worrying about the number of followers you have or how many views your reels get. Think about the artist or designer you need to become in order to reach a certain amount of followers or views, not the other way around. I really think that you don't need to worry about what is the secret strategy or trick you need to implement to get more followers or more views on your reels. Instead, I believe that you should focus on what you need to do to improve your style or improve your skills, because that's the type of stuff that will come naturally. When you focus on building quality work, it will happen automatically. Always focus on who you need to become in order to reach your goals, not on what tactic or strategy you need to use. I really hope you enjoyed this video, guys, and as always, if you have any questions, just leave them in the comment sections and I will do my best to answer them. If you'd like to keep learning with me, then I would recommend that you check out my online courses, or if you want to keep watching some of my videos, then you might be interested in this next video. Thank you so much for watching, guys, and I'll see you in my next video.